Slips of Speech by John H. Bechtel, Chapter 2, Part 2. Read for the LibriVox Language Learning Collection, Volume 2. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Chapter 2. Choice of Words. Truth and veracity. The veracity of his statement is doubted. The sentence should be, the truth of his statement is doubted, or, in making that statement, his veracity is doubted. Veracity is applied to the person, truth to the thing. Try the experiment. They are trying the experiment of running railroad trains by electricity. Well, this should be, they are making the experiment, etc. The word experiment contains the idea of trial. Hence, to try the experiment is to try the trial. Little piece. I will go with you a little piece, a short distance or a part of the way would be more appropriate. Every confidence. I have every confidence in his ability to succeed. Confidence is a unit. Every implies several units considered separately. I have the greatest confidence in his ability to succeed is correct. Ugly. The word properly applies to the appearance of a person or thing, hence such expressions as he has an ugly temper, this is an ugly customer, that was an ugly rumor, etc., although common in colloquial discourse, should be avoided in dignified address. Unbeknown. This is a provincialism that should be avoided. Use unknown. Underhanded. Often incorrectly used for underhand, as that was a contemptible and underhanded trick. Calligraphy. This word means not writing simply, but beautiful writing. Hence, to say, his calligraphy is wretched is equivalent to saying his excellent writing is poor, which, of course, is a contradiction of terms. Can but, or cannot but. These expressions are sometimes confounded. If I perish, I can but perish, means I can only perish, or I can do no more than perish. I cannot but speak of the things I have heard, means that I am under a moral necessity to speak of these things. The past tense forms could but and could not but should be in like manner discriminated. Casualty, casuality. The latter word, casuality, is sometimes used in place of the former. The first is legitimate, the second is without authority. The words specialty and speciality have a termination similar to the above. They may generally be used interchangeably and are both legitimate. Complected. The lady is light complected, has blue eyes and auburn hair. Complected is a provincialism without sanction. The lady is of light complexion, has blue eyes, etc. Disremember. This word is obsolete. Use forget or I do not remember. Lie, lay. The verbs lie and lay are often confounded, even by intelligent persons. Lie does not take an object. We cannot lie a thing. It is, therefore, intransitive. Lay, which means to place in position, requires an object. We lay a book on a table or bricks on the wall. It is, therefore, transitive. The principal parts of the first verb are lie, lay, lain, and of the second, lay, laid, laid. The word lay is found in both, and this is in part accountable for the confusion. The most frequent errors result from using laid, the past tense form of the transitive verb, when the word lay, the past tense form of the intransitive verb, should be used. The ear naturally expects the usual past tense ending of the d or t sound, and as that is absent in the past tense of lie, the past tense form of the other verb is substituted. For the same reason, the participle form, laid, is often incorrectly used for lain. He told me to lie down, and I lay down, not laid down. I told him to lay the book down, and he laid it down. The ship lay at anchor. They lay by during the storm. The book is lying on the shelf. He lay on the ground and took cold. They lay in ambush. Lie low, or he will discover you. The goods are still lying on his hands. Time lay heavily on their hands. We must lie over at the next station. A motion was made that the resolution lie on the table. Now I lie down to sleep. Now I lay me down to sleep. The foregoing sentences illustrate the correct usage of these confusing verbs. As and that. Did your cousin go to town yesterday? Not as I know. Better, not that I know. Better still, I do not know. I do not know as I shall go. Use that for as. Bad toothache. As it is a rare thing to have a good toothache, we scarcely need the adjective bad to distinguish between the two kinds of toothache. Say instead severe. Beautifully and beautiful. After verbs of seeing, feeling, tasting, and smelling, the adverb is often incorrectly used for the adjective. The colonel looked handsomely in his military dress. I feel splendidly today. This peach tastes badly. The rose smells sweetly, are all incorrect. Use handsome for handsomely, very well or in good spirits for splendidly, tastes bad or has a disagreeable taste for badly, and sweet for sweetly. Beg and beg leave. I beg to announce the sale of a collection of rare and costly rugs. I beg to acknowledge your kindness in sending me this handsome present. In each case say, I beg leave to. Due or owing. His success was due to his honesty and energy. That is due which should be paid as a debt. That is owing which is referred to as a cause or source. The bill is now due and payable at the gas office. His success was owing to his honesty and energy. Each and every. I see him at his office each day of the week. In this sentence the word every would be better. Each refers to singular days particularized. Here reference is made to what occurs on all days without exception. Both words refer to nouns in the singular, hence such expressions as the following are incorrect. Every soldier and sailor stood at their post. The prisoners were discharged and went each their several ways. Correct by saying, the prisoners were discharged and went each his several way. Every soldier and sailor stood at his post. Each or both. Both parties maintained their original positions. As the parties are thought of separately, the sentence should be, each party maintained its original position. Both parties strove to place their best candidates upon the ticket is correct, because the parties are thought of collectively. Both or both of. Both is used alone before nouns, and both of before pronouns. Both men have studied the currency question. Both of them are well informed in matters relating to the currency. Ever versus never. Let him be ever so rich, says Emerson. You spend ever so much money in entertaining your equals and betters, says Thackeray. Though he run ever so fast, he cannot win the race. Writers and grammarians differ, some preferring ever, others never. Every once in a while. This is a cumbersome, awkward expression that should be avoided. Occasionally, frequently, or at intervals, are among the expressions that may be used in its place. Exceptionable, exceptional. He enjoyed exceptionable opportunities for acquiring the Greek language. Say, exceptional opportunities. Female, woman. The word female is often employed when woman would be better. Female applies to all of the feminine gender, including the brute creation. Poet or poetess. The tendency to increase the number of nouns with the feminine ending, ess, should be checked. Avoid poetess, authoress, doctoress, and other newly invented words of this kind. Fewer versus less. Fewer refers to number, less to quantity. He had less friends than I, and yet he was elected. Say, he had fewer friends. There were no less than 50 cows in the field. Use fewer. Right smart. In some portions of the South, the expression right smart is employed in colloquial discourse to convey the idea of a large quantity or in large measure, as, we have right smart of peaches this summer, meaning we have a large crop of peaches. He knows right smart of Latin, for he knows considerable Latin, or he is well versed in Latin. Little bit. Will you have some of this pudding? If you please, give me a little bit. Did you injure yourself when you fell? No, but I soiled my clothing a little bit. A small portion or piece in the first sentence, and slightly in the second, would serve as good equivalents for a little bit. Sight. There was a sight of people at the fair today, in the sense of a large number. This word, like the word lot, should be avoided. Crowd. A dozen persons may constitute a crowd if they push and jostle one another by reason of insufficient space. 1,000 men will not form a crowd if all have ample room to sit or stand or move about. Chock full. This word is not authorized. Chock full and choke full may be used, but are not elegant. Contemplate. Propose. Contemplate is often incorrectly used for propose, as I contemplate going to the country. Dispense and dispense with. These expressions are not synonymous. To dispense is to give. To dispense with is to do without. The pharmacist dispenses medicines. We should be pleased if we could dispense with them. Dry or thirsty. Dry is often incorrectly used in the sense of thirsty, as I am dry, let me have a glass of water. To say I am dry, my waterproof and umbrella kept out the rain, is correct. Dutch versus German. Do not call a German a Dutchman. A Dutchman comes from Holland, a German from Germany. Evacuate versus vacate. Evacuate means to make empty, and should not be used in the sense of to go away, to vacate. Different than, different to. The school is conducted in a very different manner than it used to be. This basket of roses is different to yours. The above and similar expressions are decided vulgarisms and should be avoided. The school is conducted in a very different manner from what it used to be. This basket of roses is different from yours. Drive versus ride. Some confusion exists in the use of the words drive and ride. In England, the distinction is made of applying ride to going on horseback, and drive to going in a carriage, whether you ride or drive. That usage is not closely followed in this country. He who guides the horse drives, the rest of the company ride. The noun and participial forms are more excusable than the verb. Jones asked me to drive with him this afternoon, but as Jones expects to do the driving himself, the speaker should have said, Jones asked me to take a ride, or go driving, or take a drive, etc. Couple versus several. The word couple is often incorrectly used in the sense of several, as a couple of horses, mules, birds, trees, houses, etc. The use of the word couple is not only limited to two, but to two that may be coupled or yoked together. A man and wife are spoken of as a couple. We speak of a span of horses, a yoke of oxen, a brace of ducks, a pair of gloves. Directly, immediately, as soon as. A faulty English use of the above words has found some favor in the United States. Directly the whistle blew, the workman left the shop. Say, as soon as the whistle blew, etc. Immediately he closed his speech, his opponent rose to reply. Say, when, or as soon as he closed his speech, etc. Directly denotes without any delay. Immediately implies without any interposition of other occupation. Agreeably disappointed. When our hopes are blasted, our plans balked, our expectations defeated, our intentions thwarted, we are disappointed. We prefer the agreeable to the disagreeable, and plan and labor to secure it. When our plans fail, we are disappointed, but not agreeably disappointed. If the new conditions, which are not of our seeking, prove agreeable, it's only after the sense of disappointment has vanished. Allude to, or refer to, or mention. The word allude is often incorrectly used. Allusion is the byplay of language. It means to hint at by remote suggestion, to speak of figuratively or sportively. Whatever is directly mentioned or spoken of or described cannot be said to be alluded to. The terms differ in degree, the first being the weakest. An allusion is an indirect reference. Among the rest. Mary sat on the beach among the rest. Say, with the rest. Peruse. This is one of those high-sounding terms too often employed when read would be much better. Emigrants or immigrants. These words are sometimes confounded. Did you see the emigrants on the Indiana which arrived this morning? Did the immigrants go directly to Italy? Exchange those words in the two sentences, and they will be correctly used. Somewheres. The terminal s should be omitted in such words as anywheres, somewheres, nowheres, anyways, hereabouts, thereabouts, whereabouts. In such cases as whereabouts did you find him, and we knew his whereabouts, the s is properly retained. Apart and aside. May I see you apart from the others? It should be, may I see you privately or aside. Fire versus throw. We fire a gun but throw a stone. To fire a stone, fire him out of the house, fire him out of our employ, may be graphic ways of presenting the thought, but good writers never use them, and good speakers should avoid them. The first versus single. I have not found the first objection to his candidacy. Say instead, a single objection or no objection. First to. Such has been the strong desire to continue to use forms of expression that we have long used, that not a little time and effort have been expended in the endeavor to make the wrong appear right. It's an accepted fact, however, that a large majority of the best speakers and writers now say the first two, the last five, etc., rather than the two first, the five last. Future versus subsequent. The word future is sometimes used instead of subsequent, as, until he was 18 years old, his conduct was marked by cruelty and malice, but his future life was characterized by kindness and generosity. Future looks forward from the present, and not from some point of time in the past. Gents' pants. Gents' pants scoured and pressed. Business signs and business advertisements are responsible for many vulgarisms. Never say gents, nor pants. Even pantaloons is not so good a word as trousers. Sit or set. Few words afford a more fertile field for grammatical blundering than the verbs sit and set. The important fact to remember in the use of the words is that sit, in modern usage, is an intransitive verb and does not take an object, while set, which means to place in position, is transitive and requires an object to complete its meaning. You cannot sit a thing, but you do set or place a thing. The verb sit undergoes a slight change with the change of tense or time. I sit at the window today. I sat at the window yesterday. I have sat at the window daily for many years. Sitting at the window, I saw the storm arise. Having sat at his table, I can testify to his hospitality. The transitive verb set undergoes no tense changes. See me set this vase on the table. He set his seal to the paper yesterday. Jones will not set the world on fire with his writings. Having set my affairs in order, I returned home. I sit down, I sat down, I set him down. There are many intransitive uses of the verb set, as the sun sets, the tide sets toward the south, the fruit has set, he set out for Boston. There's a difference of opinion as to whether we should say the coat sets well or the coat sits well, with the greater weight in favor of sits. The hen sits on her eggs. She is a sitting hen. When the verb is used reflexively, use set and not sat, as I set me down beside her, not I sat me down beside her. Anyhow, this word can scarcely be regarded as elegant and should not be used except in colloquial style. Awful. Few words among the many that go to make up the vocabulary of American slang have been in longer use and have a wider range than the word awful. From the loftiest and most awe-inspiring themes to the commonest trifle, this much abused word has been employed. A correct speaker or writer almost fears to use the word lest he should suggest the idea of slang and thus detract from the subject to which the word might most fittingly be applied. Even the grammatical form of the word is often violated in such expressions as, "Isn't he awful nice?" or or that hat of hers is awful pretty. To say awfully nice and awfully pretty would improve the grammar, but the gross vulgarism remains. The word, when properly used, means inspiring with awe or dread, often accompanied with reverence, as when Milton says, "The trumpet spake not to the armed throng, but kings sat still with awful eye, as if they surely knew their sovereign Lord was by." Back up. In the sense of support, this and the shorter expression back are doubtless borrowed from the commercial world. While they may be tolerated in conversation, they must be regarded as slang. Bulk. This word is often incorrectly used for most or the greater part, as the bulk of the people oppose the measure. Bulk refers to size, not to numbers. Burglarize. This word is often used by the more sensational reporters in their reports of crime. It should be avoided. But what, or but that. I don't know but what I shall have to punish him. The sentence should read, I don't know but that I shall have to punish him. It is equivalent to I think that I shall have to punish him. The omission of but will convey the opposite meaning. I don't know that I shall have to punish him is equivalent to I think that I shall not have to punish him. Calculate. A provincialism often used in the sense of think, deem, suppose, believe, as I calculate the train will be here in 10 minutes. Calculated versus liable. This word is often incorrectly used in the sense of likely, liable, or apt, as his utterances are calculated to injure his cause. In the proper use of the word there is present the idea of purpose or intent. Leave versus quit. Leave is often incorrectly used for quit, as that eminent actor expects soon to leave the stage. It would be a misfortune if he should take the stage with him. Say, quit the stage. Henry has quit smoking. Here, left off or stopped would be better. The President gave me leave to speak with him. Say, give me leave. Let it alone and let me be are preferable to leave it alone and leave me be. A1. I've just read an A1 article on the currency question in the last issue of the North American Review. This is an expression from the vocabulary of business converted into the slang of the street. Luck. Luck-like behavior may be either good or bad. The carpenter has met with luck, he fell and broke his leg. The manager has met with luck, his salary has been doubled. The adjective lucky and the adverb luckily are used only in a favorable sense. Make way with. This expression is often incorrectly used for make away with, as the judge gave the bootblacks a Christmas dinner, and the begrimed urchins quickly made way with the turkey and cranberry sauce. Say instead, made away with, etc. To make way is to make room, to provide a way, to dispatch. In our midst. The doctor settled in our midst. Say, among us, or in our neighborhood. Indorse or endorse. From the Latin dorsum, the back, these words have come to mean the writing of one's name across the back of a check, or draft, or other commercial paper, to signify its transfer to another, or to secure its payment. To indorse a man's argument or opinions is an incorrect use of the word. While both forms of spelling the word are in good usage, indorse seems to be coming into more general favor. In or into. In is often incorrectly used for into, as he hurried up the street and rushed in the store. We walk in a room when the walking is wholly within the apartment. We walk into a room when we enter it from some other room or from the outside. Just going to. I was just going to write you a letter. Say, I was just about to write you a letter. Kind of. James swallowed the dose and now feels kind of sick. Use slightly or somewhat or some other modifier instead of kind of. Knowing. Do not use knowing for skillful or intelligent. He is a knowing artist. See him prick up his ears. He is a knowing cur. Clever or smart. In England the word clever is applied to one who is bright, intelligent, ready, apt. In the United States it is often misapplied to one who is good-natured, kind, or accommodating. Do you believe in corporal punishment for stupid school children? Yes, a spanking always makes them smart. To express cleverness, brightness, intelligence, aptness, the adjectives clever, bright, intelligent, apt are better than the word smart. Posted or informed. He is well posted on all matters relating to cattle breeding. Say instead, informed. Perspire versus sweat. While all mankind belongs to the animal kingdom, and no person can feel offended at being called an animal, yet society observes certain distinctions in speaking of men and of beasts. To sweat and to feed are expressions that apply to the latter, to perspire and to eat to the former. Empty. The Mississippi River flows or discharges its water into the Gulf of Mexico, but it cannot empty so long as any water remains in the river. Enjoyed poor health. Gold that buys health can never be ill spent, nor hours laid out in harmless merriment. The negative form of expression, I have not enjoyed good health, is not only correct, but is, at the same time, a polite way of modestly stating a fact. To say, I have enjoyed poor health for the past year, is to express a kind of enjoyment not generally appreciated. It's like being agreeably disappointed. Aberration of intellect. He is afflicted with a slight aberration of intellect. Simplicity would suggest he's slightly insane. Above. Foregoing. Let me call your attention to the above passage. The highest authority does not sanction the use of above as an adjective. See, instead, say the foregoing passage. Allowed versus said. He allowed this was the best speech he had heard. This is a provincialism that should be avoided. Use said or declared or admitted according to the meaning. Alternation. This word is sometimes used in the sense of an unbroken series. It properly signifies a reciprocal succession, as the alternation of summer and winter produces an ever-changing scene. Alternative. Etymologically and by general use, this word refers to a choice between two, as if this demand is refused, the alternative is war. But Gladstone is quoted as saying, my decided preference is for the fourth and last of these alternatives. Anniversary. From annus, a year, means recurring every year. Centennial means once in 100 years. What then does centennial anniversary mean? Use centenary. Learn versus teach. I taught him grammar, not I learned him grammar. He taught us history. Lease or let or rent or hire. We may lease to or from. I leased the farm to my neighbor. I leased this house from Brown. We let to another, as I let my house to my cousin. We may rent to or from another. We may hire from another, as I hired a servant. He hired a boat. Without and reflexively we may hire to another, as I hired out my horses. He hired himself to the miller. Like and as. Avoid the use of like in the sense of as. He thinks just as, not like, his father does. That Anthony Trollope, Hugh Conway, and other writers are chargeable with this offense does not justify the use of like for as, but rather proves the need of constant vigilance in order to avoid such errors. Lit or lighted or alighted. He lighted the candle. The crow alighted on the top of the tree. Avoid the use of lit in such cases, and also that slang form as I lit on a beautiful passage in Browning in the sense of met with. Lend and loan. Will you lend me your book is better than will you loan me your book. Near or nearly. James is not near so good a scholar as his brother is. Instead, use nearly. Nasty versus nice. Nasty is a strong adjective and should be used only in reference to what is offensively filthy, foul, or defiled. Such expressions as a nasty day, a nasty rain, mark a loose and careless use of the word. The word nice once meant foolish, ignorant, weak, effeminate. It has now come to mean exact, fine, finished, exciting admiration on account of skill or exactness; as nice proportions, nice workmanship, a nice distinction in philosophy. It is loosely and colloquially used in application to what is pleasing, agreeable, delightful, good. A bright young lady was once asked, "Don't you think nice is a nasty word?" She replied, "And do you think nasty is a nice word?" The subject was abruptly changed. Nicely. "How do you feel this morning?" "Nicely, thank you." The foregoing use of the word is as incorrect as it is common. Use very well instead. No good? No use. How does that new machine work? It's no good. Shall I try again? No, it's no use. The answers should have been, it's of no good, it is of no use. O and O, as in OH. While good usage is far from uniform, many excellent authors imply O, the letter O, only in cases of direct address, and OH when strong and sudden emotion is to be expressed. O is always written with a capital letter, and should be followed by the name of the person or thing addressed, and the exclamation or interrogation point placed at the end of the sentence, as letter O, death, where is thy sting? ? O grave, where is thy victory? O the cold and cruel winter. OH in the body of a sentence may begin with a small letter, and is immediately followed by the exclamation point, as OH! How terrible was his fate! The sad intelligence was gently given, but oh, the shock was almost unbearable. Observe and say. He observed that the orphan pines while the oppressor feeds. To observe is to notice carefully, to attend closely to what one sees. In the above sentence, said or remarked should be used instead of observed. Of any or of all. This is the largest tree of any I have seen. The meaning clearly is that of all the trees I have seen, this is the largest. Hence, of any should be changed to of all. Older versus elder. Elder and eldest are terms applied chiefly to persons, generally in speaking of members of the same family, while older and oldest are applied to persons of different families, and also to things. His elder brother died yesterday. His eldest sister has gone to Italy on her wedding trip. Our oldest neighbor was born in 1825. This oak is older than that pine. The foregoing sentences illustrate the best usage as applied to the comparatives older and elder, and the superlatives oldest and eldest. When the direct comparison is made, the word older is used, followed by the conjunction than, as my father is older than my mother, but when the comparison is assumed, the word elder should be employed, as my father is the elder of my parents. Only. Perhaps no other word in the language is so often misplaced as the word only. The only general rule is to place it as near as possible to the word which it modifies. He only lent me $1 means that he did not make me a present of the dollar, but expects me to return it. He lent me only $1 means that the sum lent was neither greater nor less than $1. The former expression is often used when the latter should be. Only the man walked to the post office today. The woman did not walk with him. The man only walked to the post office today. He did not ride or drive. The man walked only to the post office today. He did not go so far as the store. The man walked to the post office once only today. Yesterday he rode, and the day before he drove. Today is the only day that he walked. George Eliot in Middlemarch says, "I only know 2 gentlemen who sing at all well," and in another place, "I have only seen her once before." The word only should be placed before 2 in the first sentence, and before once in the second. onto. There is a growing tendency to write the words on and to as one word. Although nearly drowned, he yet had strength enough to climb onto the rock. The use of upon or on is generally better. When neither of these can be used, write on and to as separate words. Outstart. This word is sometimes used when outset should be employed. Over and above. He earned $20 over and above his expenses. Use more than or above. Party, person. Is she the party of whom you spoke? No, she is the person. One man may be a party to a contract or agreement. Several men may form a party. When no contract is implied, one man or woman must be spoken of as a person, not as a party. Patron or customer. Unless there is a sense of obligation or condescension, use the term customer and not patron. In like manner, use custom instead of patronage. Per. Per is a Latin preposition and should be used only with Latin nouns. We should say per annum, but not per year; per diem, and not per day; per capita, and not per head. He received $1,000 a year is shorter and better than he received $1,000 per year. Perchance, peradventure. These are poetic and archaic forms that should be avoided in ordinary prose. Performers. The entertainment consisted of reading, recitations, and singing, and the performers acquitted themselves well. Readers, reciters, and singers are not performers. The term is applied to the stage and to those who play on musical instruments. Even in the latter application, he plays well on the piano is better than he performs well on the piano. Period, or point. Do not use period for a point of time. Period implies extended time. Nothing like. James is nothing like so successful as his brother illustrates a colloquialism that should be avoided. Use not nearly so, etc. Notorious, or noted. He was elected to Congress, then governor, and we now think of sending him to the United States Senate. He is becoming quite notorious. The word notorious implies some bad or doubtful quality or characteristic, and must not be used in the sense of noted or famous. Nowhere near so. He trapped nowhere near so many rabbits as his cousin. This vulgarism should be avoided. Use not nearly. Plead. The past tense of read is read, but the past tense of plead is pleaded and not pled. The prisoner pleaded for mercy. Plenty, or plentiful. Money is plenty this summer. Plenty is a noun and should not be used as an adjective. Therefore, money is plentiful this summer. Shakespeare says, if reasons were as plenty as blackberries, etc., but words have settled into more definite grooves since Shakespeare's time. This house is plenty large enough. Neither is plenty an adverb. Say, this house is quite large enough, or simply large enough. About or around. She was pleased with the conversation about her. Use around her. She was pained by the conversation about her. Use concerning her. Overlook and oversee. This word means to look down upon from a place that is over or above, as from the top of the Washington Monument you can readily overlook the city. But it's also meaning to look over and beyond an object in order to see a second object, thus missing the view of the first object. Hence, to refrain from bestowing notice upon, to neglect. The confounding of these two ideas begets ambiguity, as Brown's business was to overlook the workmen in the shop. His business was to oversee or superintend them, and not to neglect or overlook them. Revolting. To revolt is to rebel, to renounce allegiance, but the participial form, revolting, also means repugnant, loathsome. In the sentence, a band of revolting Huns has just passed down the street, we should be in doubt whether the speaker referred to their acts against the government or to their appearance. The use of the word rebellious in the former sense and of disagreeable or disgusting, or the stronger adjectives given above, for the latter meaning would make the sentence clear. Unexampled. Such adjectives as unexampled, unparalleled, unprecedented do not admit of comparison, hence such expressions as the most unexampled bravery, the most unparalleled heroism, etc., should be avoided. Utter. This verb should be distinguished from express or say. Utter carries with it the idea of articulate expression, except in the sense of uttering false coins or forged notes. As an adjective, it is defined by complete, perfect, absolute, but it can be applied only to what is unpleasant or unfavorable. I enjoyed utter happiness would be an absurd expression, but I was doomed to utter misery illustrates a proper use of the word. Valuable, valued. These words are not synonymous. Valuable means precious, costly, having value. Valued refers to our estimation of the worth. He is one of our most valued contributors, not valuable, unless you are thinking of the value of his contributions and the smallness of the compensation. Very pleased. A few participles used as adjectives may be directly modified by to or very, as I was very tired, or he was too fatigued to go farther. We should sometimes hear the expression, I was very pleased, but the critics insist upon I was very much pleased, or greatly pleased, or very greatly pleased. Vicinity. Often too high-sounding a word for the thought. Neighborhood is less pretentious. The old man. The use of such words as dad, daddy, ma'am, mammy, the old man, the old woman, when applied to parents, not only indicates a lack of refinement, but shows positive disrespect. The words pap, pappy, governor, etc., are also objectionable. After the first lispings of childhood, the words papa and mama, properly accented, should be insisted upon by parents, and at the age of 12 or 15, the words father and mother should be substituted and ever after used, as showing a proper respect on the part of children. Great big. He gave me a great big apple. This is a colloquialism that should be avoided. Use large. Argue versus augur. The hollow whistling of the wind among the trees argues an approaching storm. Use augurs. Barbaric versus barbarous. Barbaric refers to a people, barbarous to their low state of life and their habits of cruelty. Cut in half. A colloquialism in very frequent use. I will cut this melon in half and share it with you. Say, cut in two, or cut in halves, or cut in two parts. Hearty meal. He ate a hearty meal before starting on his journey. Hearty applies to the eater rather than to the meal. He ate heartily, etc. Some better. John has been right sick, but he's now some better. Somewhat, rather, or slightly may take the place of some. The sentence may be otherwise improved. John has been quite ill, but is now somewhat better. Through, finished. Unless you have fallen through a trap door and finished your career, do not say, I am through, when you mean I have finished. The schoolboy says, I am through with that lesson, when he should say, I have finished that lesson. The farmer asks the man in his employ, are you through with that field? When he should have asked, have you finished plowing that field? You ask your friend, are you through with Trilby? When you should ask, have you finished reading Trilby? Winterish. Do not say summerish and winterish, but summery or summer-like and wintry. Wish. The word hope should be employed instead of wish in such cases as, I wish you may succeed in your undertaking. Right. This little word has many meanings and is put to many uses. In the following senses it should be avoided. Stand right here. In most instances, the briefer expression stand here is sufficient. If it is necessary to locate the place more definitely, or to emphasize the position, stand just here, or stand on this very spot may be better. The train came to a standstill right here. Better, the train stopped just here. Do it right away. This is a colloquialism that should be avoided. Immediately, instantly, at once, without delay, are expressions that may safely be substituted for right away. I heard of your misfortune and came to you right away. John, post this letter for me right off. Directly or immediately in the place of right away and right off is better English. James is right sick, and the doctor comes to see him right often. The use of right as an intensive with adjectives and adverbs is very common in many quarters. Quite ill or very ill is better than right sick, and often or frequently is better than right often. We have a right good crop of wheat this year. Use very instead of right. You have as good a right to be punished as I have. The person addressed would gladly relinquish his right. You merit punishment as well as I, or you deserve to be punished, etc. Shall, will, should, would. Few persons can claim to be entirely free from slips of speech in the use of these auxiliaries. Simply to express a future action or event, shall is used with the first person, and will with the second and third, as I shall read, we shall read, you will read, he will read, they will read. But when I desire to show determination on my part to do a certain thing, or when I exercise my authority over another, or express promise, command, or threat, will is used in the first person, and shall in the second and third, as in I will read, we will read, you shall read, he shall read, they shall read. Shall primarily implies obligation. Will implies intention or purpose. Will and would should be used whenever the subject names the one whose will controls the action. Shall and should must be employed whenever the one named by the subject is under the control of another. The difference between should and would is, in general, about the same as that between shall and will. The foregoing suggestions cover the ordinary uses of these auxiliaries, but there are some special cases deserving attention. Will, in the first person, expresses assent or promise, as well as determination, as I will read this poem for you, since you have requested it. I will meet you tomorrow at the time appointed. Will, in the second person, may express a command, as you will take the places assigned you. You will report immediately at my office. Will is sometimes employed to express a general fact, without conveying the idea of futurity, as accidents will happen, differences will arise. Will is sometimes incorrectly used instead of shall, as will I go for shall I go. This fault is common in Scotland, and prevails to some extent in this country. Will is also used wherever may be more appropriate, as be that as it will. Shall you? Will you? The distinction between shall and will in the interrogative forms of the second person are not very clearly defined. Many writers and speakers use them interchangeably. The answer should have the same auxiliary as the question. Shall you go to town tomorrow? I shall. Will you attend to this matter promptly? I will. Should, would, or ought. Should is often used in the sense of ought, as Mary should remain at home today and wait upon her sick mother. Should and would are employed to express a conditional assertion, as I should go to college if I could secure the necessary means. He would have gone fishing if his father had been willing. Would is often used to express a custom, a determination, or a wish, as he would sit all day and moan. Would to God we had died in the land of Egypt. He would go, and his parents could not prevent him. Talented. Certain authors and critics, including Coleridge, have objected strongly to the use of talented. One writer argues that since there is no such verb as to talent, the formation of such a participle as talented cannot be defended, and he further declares that no good writer is known to use it. Webster, the International Dictionary, states that as a formative, talented is just as analogical and legitimate as gifted, bigoted, moneyed, lauded, lilied, honeyed, and numerous other adjectives having a participial form, but derived directly from nouns and not from verbs. We must therefore conclude that the use of talented as an adjective is entirely legitimate. Climb down. The critics generally oppose the use of the expression climb down. When the verb is employed without its adverbial modifier, the upward direction is always understood. In figurative language, as black vapors climb aloft and cloud the day, the general climbed the heights of fame, the upward direction is also understood, but in a specific sense, climb is defined to mount laboriously, especially by the use of hands and feet. Here the manner seems to be as important as the direction. When the same manner must be employed in descending, as a tree, a mast, or a steep rocky cliff, the general term descend fails to convey the meaning, and to use slip, slide, drop, tumble, fall would be incorrect. We are then left to choose between the short and clear but objectionable expression climb down and some long and cumbersome equivalent. Mighty. Never use mighty in the sense of very or exceedingly. It's not only inappropriate, but inelegant. Of and from. She had consumption and died from the disease. Say, died of the disease. On, or over, or upon. Mary called upon her friend. Say, she called on her friend. The senator prevailed over his friends to support his bill. Say, prevailed upon his friends. The candidate prevailed over his enemies. Partake. This word means to take a part of, to share with another. It's often incorrectly used for ate, as he partook sparingly of the food. Powerful sight. This is a Westernism to be avoided. It's used indiscriminately for a large number, a great quantity, a vast amount, etc. Apprehend, comprehend. To apprehend is to take into the mind. To comprehend is to understand fully what's already there. We may apprehend many truths which we do not comprehend. Introduce, present. Present implies more formality than introduce. We introduce one friend to another. An envoy is presented to the king. Foreign ministers are presented to the President of the United States. Same, as. This is the same story as I read last week. Use same, that. Section. We raise finer horses in our section. This is an Americanism that should be avoided. Neighborhood, vicinity, region, part of the country, or state may be substituted for section. Seldom or ever. This incorrect expression is sometimes used instead of seldom or never, or seldom if ever. I have seldom if ever heard so eloquent an oration. I have seldom or never seen the man. Sewage versus sewerage. These words have distinct meanings. Sewage refers to the contents of the sewer, sewerage to the system of sewers. Sociable versus social. He's one of the most sociable men I've met. He is fond of society and is very ready in conversation. Sociable means companionable. Social applies to the relations of men in society, as social duties, social pleasures, social interests. Specialty, spécialité. These words are interchangeable, but the former is the better word. Requirement, requisition, requisite. While these words have something in common, each has a meaning peculiar to itself. Requirement means that which is required as an essential condition, or as something necessary. Requisition, that which is required as of right, a demand or application made as by authority. Requisite, that which is required by the nature of things or by circumstances, that which cannot be dispensed with. She understood the nature of the child and of its requirements. The officer made a requisition for more troops. This is as much a requisite as food and clothing. Sick or ill. There's a growing tendency to discriminate between sickness and illness, limiting the words sick and sickness to some slight disturbance of the physical system as nausea, and applying the words ill and illness to protracted disease and disordered health. Scholar versus pupil. Although these words are often used synonymously and with good authority, it would be better to limit the former to learned persons and to apply the latter to persons under instruction. Commenced to write. I commenced to write at a very early age. After the verb commence, the best writers use the verbal noun instead of the infinitive with to, as, I commenced writing at a very early age. Beside and besides. These words were formerly used interchangeably, but the best writers of today make a distinction. Beside means by the side of. Besides means in addition to. Besides is sometimes incorrectly used for except, as no trees will grow here besides the pine. Bountiful, plentiful. Bountiful applies to the giver, plentiful to the things furnished. The bountiful giver of all good furnishes a plentiful supply of all things needful for our comfort and happiness. Do not say a bountiful repast, or a bountiful harvest. Attacked, burst, or drowned. The incorrect past tense forms attacked, bursted, drowned are sometimes heard, as the cashier was attacked by 3 of the ruffians. The cannon bursted and killed the gunners. The fishermen were drowned off the bar. Instead, use attacked, burst, or drowned. All. This little word is used in a great many ways, some of which are quite colloquial, and in some cases provincial. When the grocer's clerk has taken your order, he is prompted to say, "Is that all?" Or, if he should say, "Is there anything else that you wish?" you are likely to reply, "No, that's all." Whether used in the question or in the reply, the word all should be avoided, or else the expression should be expanded so as to make a clear sentence. A friend calls to see you, and finding you alone when he expected to meet others with you, he says, "Good morning, I see you are all alone." All is not a good equivalent for quite or entirely, either of which words would be better than all. In truth, the sentence is as clear and as strong and more concise without the use of a modifier. I see you are alone. Inaugurate. To inaugurate means to induct into office, or to set in motion with formality and serious ceremony. Pompous writers too often employ the word in referring to commonplace events. A new business is established, a new hall or library is opened, a new pastor is installed, a new order of procedure is adopted. In general, the word begin or commence would be more appropriate than inaugurate. Came across, met with. I came across the passage quite unexpectedly. Better, I chanced upon, or happened upon, or met with the passage quite unexpectedly. Expect. Few words are more frequently incorrectly used than expect. I expect you went to town yesterday. I expect you will hear from me tomorrow. I expect the train has arrived. Represent some of the uses to which this word is often put. Expect refers wholly to the future, and should not refer to present or past events, as, I expect you to write me from Liverpool. John expects to see his father tomorrow. Among the expressions that can most readily and appropriately be substituted for expect are suspect, suppose, think, believe, presume, dare say. Over with. After the supper was over with, the guests departed. Omit the with. Overflown. The lowlands along the river are overflown. Use overflowed. The perfect participle of overflow is overflowed, not overflown. Good piece. I've come a good piece to see you. Say, I have come a long distance to see you. Stand a chance. He does not stand any chance of an election. Say, it's not probable that he will be elected. No more than I could help. As I was not in sympathy with the cause, I gave no more than I could help. As accustomed are we to hearing this awkward, blundering expression that we readily understand the meaning it's intended to convey, and should be sorely puzzled to interpret the correct form, let us analyze it. I gave $5. That much I could not help giving. I gave no more. Hence, I gave no more than I could not help. This last form appears to be correct. By changing the phraseology, the sentence can be greatly improved. I gave no more than I felt compelled to give. I made my contribution as small as possible. My gift was limited to the measure of my sense of obligation. Above, or more than, or preceding. It's above a week since I heard from my brother. We may say above the earth, above the housetops, but in the preceding sentence it is better to say, it's more than a week since I heard from my brother. In the above paragraph he quotes from Horace. Say, in the preceding or foregoing paragraph, etc. The awkwardness of the use of the word above becomes very apparent when the line in which it occurs is found at the top of a page, and the passage to which reference is made appears at the bottom of the previous page. Climax. The Greek word climax means literally a ladder, and implies ascent, upward movement. The best authors use it only in this sense, and not to denote the highest point. Factor. This word from the Latin factor or doer, an agent, signifies working, doing, effecting. Its frequent use in the sense of source or part should be avoided. All are but factors of one stupendous whole, whose body nature is, and God the soul. Pope employs the better word parts. Hung versus hanged. Pictures, signs, bells, and other inanimate objects are hung. Men are hanged. While some writers ignore this distinction, the best authorities observe it. Health versus healthful. A lady wrote to a paper asking, "Are plants in a sleeping room unhealthy?" The answer came, "Not necessarily. We have seen some very healthy plants growing in sleeping rooms." Persons are healthy or unhealthy. A plant or tree is healthy or unhealthy according as it possesses vigor. Food, surroundings, and conditions are healthful or unhealthful according as they promote or destroy health. Idea versus opinion. Many persons think that the interior of the earth is a mass of fire. What is your idea? Say, what is your opinion? Alone or only. An only child is one that has neither brother nor sister. A child alone is one that is left to itself. Virtue alone makes us happy means that virtue unaccompanied by any other advantages is sufficient to make us happy. Virtue only makes us happy means that nothing else can do it. Grow, or raise, or rear. We grow wheat, corn, oats, and potatoes on our farm. We raise wheat, etc., would be better. With the same propriety we might use sleep for lodge and eat for feed, or supply with food, as we can eat and sleep 50 persons at one time. The word raise is often incorrectly used in the sense of rear, as she raised a family of 9 children. It is sometimes employed in the sense of increase, as the landlord raised my rent. Increased would be better. Has went. He goes to school. He went to school yesterday. He has gone to the West. Avoid such ungrammatical forms as he has went, I have saw. Badly or greatly. Badly is often incorrectly used for greatly or very much, as I need it badly. He was badly hurt. That fence wants painting badly. I think I'll do it myself, said the economical husband. Yes, said his wife, you had better do it yourself if you think it wants to be done badly. At you. If you don't stop teasing me, I will do something at you, meaning I will punish you. That form of expression is very common in some localities, and it's even more inelegant than common. The use of the preposition to instead of at would be a slight improvement, but the sentence should be entirely recast. Haply versus happily. In the reading of the Scriptures, the word happily is sometimes used where the archaic word haply should be employed. In like manner, the word thoroughly is substituted for the old form throwly. Both words should be pronounced as they are spelt. Thanks. To say I thank you requires but little more effort than to say thanks, and it will be received as a more sincere token of thankfulness. Got to. This elegant expression is often employed where must would serve the purpose better. This work has got to be done. Say, must be done. Hangs on. The cold weather hangs on. Better, the cold weather continues. Under the weather. Are you well? No, I've been quite under the weather. Substitute sick or ill for the colloquial expression under the weather. Again versus against. Again is often erroneously used for against, as he leaned again the tree for support. Say, he leaned against the tree for support. Could, can, and will. Could is often incorrectly employed where can or will would be more appropriate. Could you lend me $1 this morning? If the thought of the inquirer is, are you willing to lend, etc., he should have used will instead of could. But if his thought was, are you able to lend, or do you have $1 to spare this morning, he should have used can. Bravery versus courage. Bravery is inborn. Courage is the result of reason and determination. The brave are often reckless. The courageous are always cautious. Hate. Avoid the use of hate for dislike and all other intensive words when the thought is more correctly expressed by a milder word. Pretty. Very. Pretty is often incorrectly used in the sense of very or moderately, as he was pretty badly hurt. He is a pretty good scholar. She's pretty wealthy. Thomas is pretty ugly. So common is this provincialism in some localities that the incongruity of such an expression as the last would pass undiscovered. Lot versus number. The use of lot for number or many is a colloquialism that should be avoided. He collected a lot, large number, of books on the subject. A lot of policemen were gathered there. I ate lots of oranges while I was in Florida. Lead a dance. He led his companion a fine dance. This expression, as generally used, is ironical, and implies that the leader conducts those who are led through experiences unfamiliar to them, and usually to their disadvantage. To lead astray, to deceive, to corrupt the morals of, may be substituted for the foregoing inelegant expression. Try-and. Have you been to the country this summer? No, but I will try and go next week. The second speaker intends to convey the idea that it is his purpose to go if nothing occurs to prevent, but his going is still a matter of uncertainty. His statement, however, when properly interpreted, means that he not only will try, but he positively will go. Try and finish that work today. Here the purpose is not to command that the work shall be finished, but that the trial shall be made. As the sentence stands, two distinct commands are given. First, that the trial shall be made, and second, that the work must be completed. The sentence should read, try to finish that work today. Use to instead of and in such expressions as try and make it convenient to come, try and do your work properly, try and think of your lessons, try and go and see your sick neighbor. End of Slips of Speech, Chapter 2, Part 2, by John H. Bechtel, read by Mike Harris.
Verbs, from First Steps in Anglo-Saxon by Henry Sweet. Recorded for the LibriVox Language Learning Collection, Volume 2. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Verbs. 64. The infinitive of verbs ends in an, which, like other inflections, is shortened to after a vowel, as in gone, to go, compared with kuman, to come. G.S.A. tha shipu to lande kuman, whither wilt thou gone? 65. From the infinitive is formed the supine to kumanne, to ganne, in which the infinitive is put into the dative after the preposition to. It is used to express necessity and purpose, and to define. Tha thing they to donne sint, he komon that land to sjauianne, fire on to lokianne. 66. The present participle ends in inde, nde, as in irnende, donde, doing, on horsum ridende. When present participles are made into nouns, they drop the final e, as in se feond, enemy, literally, hating. 67. The preterite participle generally takes the prefix ye, unless the verb already has some such prefix. It is formed in two ways. In strong verbs, it ends in n. Thus, the strong verbs kuman, bekuman, come, gone, have preterite participles kumin, bekumin, yegon. Compare modern English, go, gone. In weak verbs, it ends in d or t. Thus, the weak verb yehiran has preterite participle yehired. 68. The finite verb has three moods, indicative, subjunctive, and imperative, of which we are at present concerned only with the first, and two senses, present and preterite, together with two numbers, singular and plural, and three persons. 69. In the present indicative, the first person ends in e. Ich kume, ich yehere, ich go. The second in st. Thu yeherst, thou hearest. And the third in th. He yeherth, he heareth. The plural ends in ath. We yeheroth, ye kumoth, he goth. 70. The th of the third singular is changed to t, or lost after some consonants, as in he forget, from forgetan, forget. After some consonants, it modifies the preceding consonant, and is sometimes dropped itself, as in he went, from wendan, turn or go. He fate, from fedan, feed. He set, from setan, set. The st of the second person often causes similar changes in preceding consonants, as in thu fetst, thou feedest. 71. Double consonants are always simplified before st and th. J being made into y, as in he yefulth, from yefulan, fill. Thu seist, from sejan, say. 72. In the preterite, the first and third person are always the same. Ich yeherde, he yeherde. And the plural ends in on in all three persons. We yeherdon, he yeherdon. Strong verbs. 73. Strong verbs, in addition to the above described consonant changes, often modify their vowels before st and th, as in what eatst thou? He eat, from etan, eat. He kumth, from kuman. He gath, from gone. 74. The preterite of strong verbs is formed not by adding anything, but by various vowel changes. Ich kume, I come. Ich kom, I came. Ich binde, I bind. Ich band, I bound. Ich quethe, ich quath. Ich arise, I arise. Ich aras, I arose. Ich bebeelde, I command. Each bowed. 75. The preterite plural sometimes has the same vowel as the singular. He kom. He komon. He hailed. He haildon. From haldon. But generally, the plural has a different vowel. He band. He bundon. He aras. He arison. He bebowed. He bebudon. Sometimes there is a consonant change as well. He quath. He quadon. He raus. He ruron. From rheosan, fall. 76. The second person singular of the preterite always has the same vowel in consonant as the preterite plural, from which it can be formed by changing on into e. He was. He was. He waron. They were. Thu ware. Thou wert. So also, he sprak. Thu sprake. He sprakon. From sprekan. 77. The following are the inflections of the very frequent strong verb werthan, become, including the subjunctive. Indicative. Present, singular, first person. Ich werde. Second person. Thu wirst. Third person. He wirth. Plural. He werthath. Preterite, singular, first person. Ich warth. Second person. Thu wurde. Third person. He warth. Plural. He wurdon. Subjunctive. Present, singular, first person. That ich werde. Second person. That thu werde. Third person. That he werde. Plural. That he werden. Preterite, singular, first person. That ich wurde. Second person. That thu wurde. Third person. That he wurde. Plural. That he worden. The preterite participle is geworden. Weak verbs. 78. In weak verbs, the second person singular of the preterite is formed by adding st, as in, je heerdest thu. 79. Some weak verbs have infinitive an, some eon. The latter are inflected in two different ways. Present, singular, first person. Ich ferie, carry. Second person. Tu ferist. Third person. He ferith. Plural. He feriath. Preterite, singular, first person. Ich feride. Second person. Tu feridist. Third person. He feride. Plural. He feridon. Participle, present. Ferinde. Preterite. Je ferid. Infinitive. Ferian. Gerund. To ferianne. Present, singular, first person. Ich wunye. Dwell. Second person. Thu wunast. Third person. He wunath. Plural. He wunyath. Preterite, singular, first person. Ich wunode. Second person. Thu wunodist. Third person. He wunode. Plural. He wuniath. Preterite, singular. First person. Each wunode. Second person. Thu wunodist. Third person. He wunode. Plural. He wunodon. Participle, present. Wuninde. Preterite. Ye wunod. Infinitive. Wunian. Gerund. To wunyanne. 80. Those with infinitive an are inflected thus. Present. Singular. First person. Each yehere. Second person. Thu yeheerst. Third person. He yeheerth. Plural. He yeheerath. Participle. Yeheerende. Preterite. Singular. First person. Each yeheerde. Second person. Thu yeheerdist. Third person. He yeheerde. Plural. He yeheerdon. Participle. Yeheered. 81. Some weak verbs omit the e in the preterite participle, as in yelad, from ladon, lead, bring, or carry, the d in itself being lost in such participles as send, from sendan, send. 82. After some consonants, the d of the preterite is changed to te, generally with loss or change of the preceding consonant, as in sette, from settan, set. Tachte, from tachon, show. The preterite participle has the same changes. Yeset, yetacht. 83. Some of these verbs have vowel change in the preterite and preterite participle, as in saide, from sejan, salde, from sellan, workte, from wirkan, work or make or do, sochte, from sechan, seek, thochte, from thinchan, think. Preterite participles yesaid, yesauld, yeworcht, yesocht, yethocht. Preterite present verbs. 84. These have for their presence old strong preterites, from which new weak preterites are formed, generally with considerable irregularities. Thus, what, I know, or he knows, as plural we witon, like aras, arison. Preterite wiste, plural wiston, the infinitive being widan. The second person singular present generally ends in t or st. Thu wast, thu kanst, thou knowest, from kan, knows, plural he kunnon, preterite he kuthi. Most of them have no infinitive, and they are often otherwise defective. Subjunctive. 85. The subjunctive mood makes no distinction of persons. In the present singular, it has the ending of the first person of the indicative, which is, of course, dropped after a vowel. Tatich kume, that I may come. Tat thu ga, indicative thu gast. Tat he ye here. The plural ending in the present is in. that way cumin, that way gone. The subjunctive present of the verb be is se, plural, sin. '86. The preterite subjunctive is formed from the preterite indicative in the same way. That each je heerde, that thu je heerde, indicative, je heerdest. That he je heerde, that way je heerden. In strong verbs, the preterite subjunctive has the form of the second person of the indicative. That each ware, that thu ware, that he ware. Plural, that way waren. So also, bindan has subjunctive preterite bunde, plural, bundin. In the preterite present verbs, the subjunctive present has the form of a strong subjunctive preterite. That ich wite, that way witen, that he kunne. 87. The subjunctive states something not as a fact, but merely as something thought of. 88. In independent sentences, it expresses what is wished or commanded. Je halde eo se almichtiga. Otherwise, it is used chiefly in dependent sentences. 89. Thus it is used in indirect narration to show that the speaker is stating something merely as an idea suggested to him by someone else. He kwadon that he ware god kuning. If the truth of the statement is so self-evident that it could be expressed by direct narration without any change of meaning, then the indicative may be used, as in Nu we wiloth sejon that we fuse sint urne erd to se channe, which means exactly the same as Nu we sint fuse, so that the subjunctive would here be too emphatic. That we fuse sin would imply that the speakers wished to say that their statement was false. 90. So also in indirect question and similar constructions. He ashode what he waren, he nemichton a thenchan, hu he hira feondum withstandan michten. 91. In the following examples, the subjunctive evidently expresses something as an idea, not as an accomplished fact. He bad hine that he him to futu me come. Tha men belivon thar bafton that he that sheep hailden. Kuninge je davenoth that he se kusti. He ude him that he mosten in kuman. Michel pleoch be that man while je fall. In swa welch swa thu se bega thine kraft. The subjunctive gives the meaning of indefiniteness, implying, I do not know who you are. 92. In some cases, the subjunctive implies that the statement is not merely hypothetical, but unreal or impossible, as in hypothetical comparison. Thus, he rich sode swelche he kuning ware implies, he nas na kuning. 93. So also in clauses of rejected condition, where the unreality is further shown by putting the verb in the preterite, as in Gif thu swa unfurcht ware, swa thu self seest, which implies Naut thu swa unfurcht, swa thu self seest. 94. Hence, the indicative is often used in clauses of open condition, to show that the condition is not rejected, although we should otherwise expect the subjunctive. Ich the selle havok, gif thu me selstund. 95. There is a tendency to use the subjunctive in clauses dependent on a negative sentence, as in Neom ich swa spady, that ich maya me ween bujan. Because the statement each mai me ween bujan is false. Without the negation, the indicative would be used. Each eom swar spady tha each mai me ween bujan. So also after then, as in Thor spreached deobligur thonne ure ildo aberon maie, because the statement ure ildo hit aberan mai is false. 96. The subjunctive sometimes used illogically in statements of facts. 97. It is so used after such conjunctions as ad, before, or that, until. Beowulf sprak Jilpword he on bed stige. Here, Beowulf's going to bed, though a fact, is expressed with subjunctive, because at the time indicated by the principal clause, it was not yet an accomplished fact. 98. Also with thou, the, although, thou the he wunderlich thinche, nicht nichts non-thing, butan thare earthan shaudo. Here, the statement of the fact that it seems wonderful is put in the subjunctive to show that what is referred to ought not to seem wonderful because it is true. Imperative. 99. The imperative singular of verbs with infinitive an can generally be formed by throwing off the infinitive ending, as in held, siege, bail, from held on, hold, sechan, seek, bayon, be. In those with infinitive ian, it can be formed by throwing off the th of the third singular, as in feri, carry, from ferian, he ferith. Ne sorgathu, do not grieve, from sorgian, he sorgath. 100. But several verbs in an, preceded by double consonants, have imperative in e, preceded by a single consonant, as in sele, from sellon, seye, from sejan. So also some otherwise strong verbs, such as sitan, sit, preterite sat, imperative site. 101. The imperative plural is the same as the indicative present. Haldoth, baeoth, ferioth, wunioth, selloth. Anomalous verbs. 102. The following are the forms of the verb to be. Indicative. Present singular first person. Eom. Bail. Second person. Out. Beast. Third person. Is. Beeth. Plural. Sint. Baoth. Preterite singular first person. Was. Second person. Ware. Third person. Was. Plural. Wadon. Subjunctive. Present singular first person. Se. Bail. Second person. Se. Bail. Third person. Se. Bail. Plural. Sin. Bayon. Preterite singular first person. Wade. Second person. Wade. Third person. Wade. Plural. Wadding. Imperative. Wis. Wisoth. Bail. Bailth. Infinitive. Wezan. Bayon. 103. The following are the chief forms of don, do, and gone, go, both of which have weak preterites. Indicative, present singular. Each do, he deeth, plural, doth. Preterite, dude. Subjunctive, present, singular, do, plural, don. Preterite, dude. Imperative, do, doth. Participle, donde, yedon. Indicative, present, singular. Each go, he gath, plural, goth. Preterite, aelde. Subjunctive, present, singular, go, plural, gone. Preterite, aelde. Imperative, go, goth. Participle, gonde, ye gone. 104. The weak verb haban, have, shows some irregularities. Indicative, present, singular. Each habbe. Thu havst. He havth. Plural. Habbath. Preterite. Havde. Subjunctive, present. Habbe. Preterite. Havde. Imperative. Hava. Habbath. 105. The verb willan, will, resembles the preterite present verbs and shows a mixture of subjunctive forms in the present indicative. Indicative, present singular, first person, ich wille, second person, thu wilt, third person, he wille, plural, willath. Preterite, wulde. Subjunctive, present singular, first person, wille, second person, wille, third person, wille, plural, wilden. Preterite, wulde. Tenses and periphrastic forms. 106. The future is often expressed by the present, as in ich eowizie, I will show you the way, sometimes by will and shall, as in modern English. Of the two verbs to be, beon is often used to express futurity, as in ich beo soma yauro, compared with ich eo miauro, or else continuity or repetition, as in slap beth thou the yeligost. 107. The preterite has also the meaning of our perfect and pluperfect, which are, however, also expressed by periphrastic forms, as in modern English. He habbath hine of slayen. They have killed him. He havdon hine of slayen. They had killed him. With intransitive verbs, these tenses are generally formed with be, and the participle is then inflected so as to agree with the subject. We sint kumine. He waron kumine. 108. The passive is sometimes formed with be, as in modern English, in which case it generally implies a condition or state rather than an action, as in Tha wyrchtan waron yesamnode. When an action is implied, wirthan is used. Seowut na wirth, navre yehalid. Michel dim werth yedon. Mania min wordon of slayene from tham samanum. In the passive, the participle agrees in gender and number with the subject. Negation. 109. The negative particle is ne, which drops its vowel in many combinations, such as non, none, navre, neum, am not, naurt, art not, nis, is not, often with contractions and changes, as in he nas, was not, he naron, were not, ich nulle, I will not, he nolde, would not, he nuste, knew not, compared with was, waron, wile, wolde, wiste. 110. Ne is prefixed to the finite verb in a sentence and to all the other words in the sentence which admit of the contracted forms. Non man nuste non thing. Seo wont ne werth navre jehaled. If there are no such words in the sentence, the ne is often strengthened by some such negative word as no, not, nacht, nothing, not. That hoose ne fail no. End of Verbs from First Steps in Anglo-Saxon by Henry Sweet.